Okay guys, so we're going to be looking at how we can get some security when we're writing NSData bytes to the file system in an iOS application. What we're looking at on screen is the main storyboard for this demo application. So you'll notice I have two controls going on here. A text field that's going to allow the user to enter in some text data, as well as a save button here that we're going to use to kick off the process of converting that text data to NSData bytes and then saving it to the iOS file system. Both of these controls are already hooked up in my viewcontroller.m file. You can see here my IB outlet for the text field, and as well I have an IB action set to go when the save button is pressed. Now, within that action, you're going to notice me calling a method here, demo protecting NSData during writes. That's the shell that's right below, and that's where we're going to jump in and implement this particular demo. Now, the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to paste this in and go over it, is we're going to gather our user input. So that's coming from our text field data, and then I'm going to put that user input into a dictionary that I'm calling my data dictionary, and then I'm going to convert this dictionary to JSON format, which is NSData, by using the NSJSON serialization class. It's data with JSON object options error method. So you can see passing in my dictionary here and giving the result our NSData a name of my JSON data. We also have an error instance here set up so that we can get any information in the event that an error occurs. Now, assuming we successfully convert our user data into this JSON data, what we're going to do next is set up the file path where we're going to attempt to write this NSData to. So you can see here, we're going to write in the documents directory, and we're going to attempt to write to a file that we're naming my JSON data file.json. And with that file path in place, all that's left to do now is for me to call a method of the NSData class on my JSON data, and that's going to be the write to file options error method, which is going to return to me a Boolean value that I'm going to be able to use to tell if this write was successful or not. When I call this method, you can see I'm going to pass in obviously the file path we're interested in writing this NSData to, and I'm going to pass in an optional error, allowing me to indirectly receive any error information in the event that something went wrong. But what I want to point out here is this options parameter, which is where we have some control over how this file is going to be written. So these NSData writing option enumerations are defined in the NSData header file, and the one we're using right now is NSData writing atomic. This is going to ensure that our file is written without corruption or not at all, and it's going to do that by first writing the file to a temporary file, and only once that happens without any issues is that temporary file going to be renamed to my file path. Using this option is going to save us from having any partial writes or file corruption, because it's an either or kind of thing. Unfortunately, this does have the effect of overwriting any files already at that path. So if it's important to me to avoid any type of overwriting, then there's another option I can use here, and that's going to be the NSData writing without overwriting option. So the name is very self-explanatory in that this is not going to be able to write our NSData information to the disk if there is a file at my file path of interest. Now, unfortunately, we cannot use NSData writing without overwriting and NSData writing atomic at the same time. We're going to have to pick one or the other and go with that. There are also a few other data writing options which allow us to set the protection of the file as it relates to the lock status of the iOS device it's running on, but we're not going to get into those here. We're going to leave our NSData writing without overwriting in place, and we're going to run this application in the simulator just to verify that we cannot overwrite a file that may already be there. Once it loads up, I'm going to enter in some data into my text field here. I'll just enter the string hello, and if I press the save button, this should be converted to JSON and saved successfully, so it looks good based on our output there. But if I were to attempt to save another file, I'm just going to add in some extra information, hello there, and save. Now you can see operation could not be completed because the file already exists.